Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back another video from Ham on Beat, and I've been sitting on this one for a while. Thought, come on, let's get into it. Let's check it out. Is Rohan a self-insert? So this is basically asking the question: has Araki made a character based on himself and put that character set in said story? And also, quick one: Steel Ball Run Volume 1 came through the post. I am so excited. I don't want to read it through it too quickly because these are coming out like every 3 months, so I'm going to be very, very slow with it so that I can then carry on reading part 2 when that comes out. But next year we can check out some Steel Ball Run content. How cool is that? But anyway, let's get into the main video for today. Ham on Beat! Is Rohan a self-insert?
Out of every character in the JoJo series, one of the most surprisingly present ones is Rohan Kishibe, first introduced as an antagonist and later a supporting character in Part 4. After the end of the part, Rohan has gone on to be the main protagonist in the Thus Spoke Kishibe Rohan manga anthology series, following him through a series of supernatural adventures. Notably, he's also the lead of Rohan at the Louvre, a collaboration story with the Louvre Museum in Paris. The Rohan manga also went on to receive an OVA adaptation of 4 of its episodes.
So good as well. Those OVAs on Netflix, if you've not watched them, get them checked. They're so good.
Beyond this, he's also the subject of a line of light novel stories written by different authors, and starting in 2020, a live-action TV drama series which as of today has released 9 episodes across 4 seasons, as well as a theatrical film adapting the Louvre story. Most recently, Rohan has made his return to the main series of JoJo once again, with another version of him appearing early on in Part 9, The JoJo Lands. Which, while only being a minor appearance so far, may come to evolve into a larger role in the story.
Interesting.
With Rohan appearing in such a vast body of work, it's led some JoJo fans to wonder why such a seemingly minor character is the lead of so much of JoJo's spin-off material. The reactions to Rohan's status range from simple confusion to being much more negative towards the character, since many believe that other stories deserve spin-offs more. One common opinion you'll see is that Rohan was chosen for this role due to being a self-insert character for the author, Hirohiko Araki. Both of them are manga artists after all, and Araki has even drawn himself with the character.
That's cool.
But just how true is it that Rohan is a self-insert? Rohan is one of my personal favorite JoJo characters, with his spin-off stories being some of the best to come out of the JoJo series. So I want to take a deeper look at Rohan's creation and his role in the overall series to hopefully answer the question of whether or not he's really an Araki insert. Rohan made his debut in Chapter 53 of Part 4's manga, where he is introduced as yet another minor stand-user antagonist for the characters to defeat. After this, he eventually returned as an ally, helping Koichi in the Ghost Alley and getting involved in the mystery behind Reimi's killer. Notably, Rohan is actually the one with a personal connection to Reimi instead of any of the other main characters. In his book, Manga in Theory and Practice, Araki discusses how Rohan came to evolve over time.
Cool.
He says that initially Rohan was not intended to be an important character, but after drawing him, he liked how he worked and started to utilize him more throughout the story.
He does have a really cool design as well. His character design is pretty boss, so I imagine once you've drawn it and it looks cool, you'll be like, I want to use this character a little bit more.
He says that he deliberately tried to make Rohan's personality and design not overlap with Josuke or Koichi so he would stand out. And I think that idea shines through very clearly with one of Rohan's main features, his abrasive personality, setting him apart from most of the cast. Rohan's primary traits since his introduction are his curiosity and a creative passion that causes him to pursue reality. Rohan believes that for his manga to be worth anything, it has to be based in reality, meaning that for him to effectively portray something in his story, he has to see and understand it himself. In one of his earliest appearances, Rohan is shown studying a spider. He finds the name of the type of spider, where it came from, and studies its movements. He then goes on to see how the spider reacts to pain and how it suffers before death, before finally figuring out how the spider tastes.
So weird, though.
He does all of this just so that the next time he draws a spider, it will be closer to reality. Of course, Rohan at this stage is a villain, and his methods go too far. But I believe his philosophy of pursuing reality is to some degree something that many artists, including Araki himself, possess.
Really? You reckon Araki would eat a spider just to know what it tastes like so the next time he draws it, it becomes real? I know what he's saying. I'm joking.
Parts of JoJo that take place in other countries, Araki has taken research trips in order to better understand the area. Prior to Part 3, he and his editor Ryosuke Kabashima actually visited Egypt, which inspired many of the concepts we saw with the introduction of stand users. Part 6 had Araki heading on a tour of a real American prison, and he visited the American Southwest before Steel Ball Run. Most recently, Araki traveled to Hawaii to...
Oh, yeah, okay, yes, I can see the connection here. So, yes, he's travelled to... I remember, what was the video? Oh my god, it's been a while since I've done Ham on Beat. But yeah, Araki will travel to places to get a feel for them before actually drawing about them. And, so it does seem like the actual place. Yeah, so I can see the relation there. Okay,
prepare for the JoJo lands. Notably, Araki takes his research photos himself and seeks out small details
Very
like
cool.
local plant life or textures of nearby architecture. He also went out of his way to see places that tourists won't go, to understand what life is like for the Hawaiian locals. Araki says that by actually seeing the locations in person, he can portray them in the manga as something that actually happened, in turn making the world believable for the reader and improving the story.
The effort, man.
Rohan is shown to have similar methods, although they are of course exaggerated. Many Rohan stories see him travel the world for inspiration and go to great lengths to witness an undisturbed reality. Many chapters see Rohan putting himself in mortal danger or breaking the law just to find some more material. In the story Mutsukabe Hill, Rohan even bankrupts himself by purchasing an entire mountain range, just to prevent a resort from being built there which would disturb the phenomenon he wanted to study. The embodiment of Rohan's desire for reality is seen with his stand ability Heaven's Door. This stand allows Rohan to turn people into books, with these books containing all the details of that person's life. For someone like Rohan, this is the most perfect distilled form of reality that there is, with the books containing even the deepest secrets a person has. Since reality is what's most important to Rohan, simply asking someone about their experiences isn't enough. He has to read the information himself to know that they are just as real as something he himself could experience. For a manga artist who wants to create in the way Rohan does, Heaven's Door would be like the perfect wish fulfillment for being able to flawlessly understand the world around you.
Yeah, imagine just being able to point at something and go, I need to know everything about this. And then it just opens up and it's like, okay, there's the details, there's the thing. That's why, perfect.
So it shouldn't come as a surprise that when asked what stand in the JoJo series Araki would want the most, he has repeatedly chosen Heaven's Door, saying he would want to know what people are thinking to better understand them.
Yeah.
Some people might not be aware of this, but Araki has actually spoken on the similarities between him and Rohan before. In his book, Araki says that with Rohan being a mangaka, in some ways he is based on himself. In another interview, Araki clarifies that he actually hears about this comparison a lot from people who read Part 4. He says that he admires Rohan and even thought about playing the character before, but says that personality-wise, they're very different, which might disappoint some people. Although when asked if he would lick a spider, he does jokingly say that he would try most foods if they are prepared for him.
So that answers
The way
that
I think
question.
we can really understand Rohan is by looking at the roles he fills across the series. Starting in Part 4, he was an antagonist and later a begrudging ally to Josuke. Something I really like about early Rohan specifically is how he fits into JoJo's horror themes. JoJo is fundamentally a horror series, and although some would say it's evolved away from that over time, I do still think it's very present, and Part 4 is one of the best examples.
Yeah, Part 4
A lot
definitely.
of Part 4 is showing off the scary situations that you might find in everyday life. Like how the Locke arc is based around being scammed or having your family turned against you, or having a fear of something being wrong with your food like in the Tonio chapters. And of course, Hayato's arc is all about fearing how your loved ones might actually be hiding a dark secret.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of horror aspects within Part 4. Jeez, I love Part 4. Part 3 is my favourite, but Part 4's got the best villain.
Part 4 taps into these really relatable fears that could exist independently of any kind of supernatural forces. Rohan is a great example of this. On the surface, he's really like a manga artist's power fantasy of being able to harness pure creativity. But Rohan shows how people can take their creative passion too far, and his use of Heaven's Door often greatly oversteps any ethical boundaries. Now that makes for a great horror story where someone comes to know the most hidden details of your life. But for Araki, I think he actually wrote Rohan from his own perspective, showing a dark side that everyone has. Rohan also came to evolve throughout the series, and I think one of the most interesting iterations of him comes with the spin-off. A lot of people have questioned why Rohan was chosen for this role and believe it could be better spent focusing on other characters. On the contrary, I think Rohan only improves with the spin-off and is a perfect fit as the title character. In 1997, Araki was asked to write a short story, which later became the
Oh.
first chapter of Thus Spoke Kishibe
Oh,
Rohan, titled At a
cool.
Confessional. It originally wasn't meant to be a spin-off of an existing series, but when Araki made the first draft without Rohan, he found the story lacking. So he decided that Rohan would be a good choice for the story's narrator. Although Rohan isn't really the main focus of the story, I just can't imagine it without him. The premise itself just screams Rohan, with him wandering into a confession booth and hearing a man on the other side confess his sins. But he decides to pretend to be the priest and listen for more material. This is the kind of role Rohan takes on in a lot of the stories, often being separated from the action and just being our guide through it all. Even the series' title in both English and Japanese echoes this idea. But later on, Rohan does take a more active role, which is...
That episode is an absolute perfect example of building tension with anything. You can build tension in any setting. This episode, my god.
where I think the stories really shine. With JoJo being a horror-themed series, it often deals with supernatural phenomena, and the spin-off is where I think that reaches its peak, with each chapter focused on a new yokai or strange event for Rohan to encounter. With Rohan's character being all about seeking out new information, he's a perfect surrogate for the reader that wants to see how these stories will play out, while simultaneously acting as an experienced guide through those stories. One of the best examples of this is Poaching Seashore, the story which saw the return of Tonio. Here, Rohan agrees to help Tonio by finding an important ingredient by breaking the law to poach local abalone. In his author's note for the chapter, Araki says that Rohan has no problem crossing the boundaries of modern society's rules, which is a perfect way of describing how Rohan ends up in these situations. But he says that Rohan always pays respect to tradition and history, which is often how he ends up surviving in the end. While the spin-off series maintains Rohan's generally unpleasant attitude at times, with him taking on the role of a protagonist, we do empathize with him more. Beyond that, Rohan has also shown some genuine growth over time. When we initially met Rohan, we saw how he acts at his most selfish, having no regard for other people as long...
Yeah, and his character gets a little... So it's not a lot, but his character progression's good, because then he starts kind of caring a little more about people and putting people first before himself, realizing, oh, maybe I need to take a little step back. You know?
As it was in pursuit of his artistic vision. But over time, he's shown to have moments where he genuinely cares for others. The first and most obvious example comes from his connection to Reimi. She was Rohan's babysitter in the past and saved his life before she was killed by Yoshikage Kira. Rohan repressed the memory of the incident but rediscovered it when he chose to help find her killer. Rohan becomes one of the most active participants in the investigation to find Kira and single-handedly puts together the clues they need to reach the finale. In this relationship with Reimi gives us our first look at Rohan's emotions as he wishes her goodbye.
Aww.
Afterwards, the spin-off gave us more glimpses at Rohan's emotional side and shows that he has a genuine connection to his home and the people around him. The 11th chapter, Drip Painting Style, depicts Rohan tearing up when writing a story. We learn that he had been involved in an incident where he tried to warn a woman that she was being pursued, but despite his efforts, the woman ends up being killed. The killer turns out to be an eco-terrorist who plans to destroy Morio's power plant and lured Rohan there to ensure his safety and so that he would be able to tell his story through his manga.
Oh, whoa.
Rohan agrees with the man's cause but feels responsible for the death of the woman and begs him not to harm his town. Rohan eventually stops him but goes on to adapt it into a story despite it not having a happy ending. In the chapter DNA, Rohan is asked by Yukiko to help her friend Mai, whose daughter Mao has a strange birth defect. The girl has strange features and behavior like talking backwards, having long eyelashes, and a tail that allows her to camouflage. However, once Rohan reads her with Heaven's Door, he refuses to help since Mao's condition isn't a disease, but an expression of who she truly is through a kind of physical stand ability. He tells Mai to reconsider what she thinks of as normal and that she should instead accept her daughter for how she is. This decision is pretty respectful coming from Rohan, who may have overstepped those boundaries in the past. While Rohan doesn't play much of a role in the rest of this story, the fact that he refused to help was actually necessary for Mai meeting a man who turns out to be Mao's biological father, who is also a kind of reincarnation of her deceased husband. When Yukiko tells him about this at the end of the story, he plays it off but seems pretty satisfied that everything worked out. Another person Rohan is shown to genuinely care for is his editor Izumi. Like any artist and their editor, the two can at times be seen as adversaries. Her very existence as someone who can alter Rohan's work makes her a kind of dampening force on Rohan's raw creativity, and she's a natural foil for Rohan across the manga and its adaptations. In his book on how he creates villains, Araki writes that he actually considers Izumi to be a kind of antagonist for Rohan.
Oh.
With this, we can
It's
see
like a
another
personal kind
parallel
of back and
between
forth,
Araki
yeah.
and Rohan, with this idea of a back and forth between an artist and editor being something that he would have experienced many times in the past. While not a villainous character, Izumi acts as a natural opponent for Rohan's main goal of pursuing reality, and she's been shown trying to alter Rohan's work even without his permission.
My God.
Izumi made her debut in the chapter Millionaire Village, where she and Rohan visit a remote mountain villa where they're forced to follow the rules of etiquette or run into misfortune.
Yes.
Rohan is shown to often be annoyed with Izumi's simple thinking, which he feels gets in the way of his work. But when Izumi inadvertently breaks the rules and learns that her mother and fiancé died as a result, he begs their host to forgive her. Despite showing annoyance with Izumi, he sees that like any person, she just wanted to be happy, and only got in this situation because she was trying to give him something to write about. He goes on to put himself directly in danger to be able to save her. Through interactions like this and many others throughout the spin-off, we see how Rohan has evolved. When before he would simply view something like Izumi as an obstacle to his creative goal, we can see that he now views how all people contribute to reality in their own way, and because Rohan considers that reality so precious, he'll always fight to protect it. With all that being said, is Rohan a self-insert? Well, there simply isn't a concrete answer to that. While not being a direct
It's like a maybe loosely, based. The similarities.
substitute for Araki, I believe Rohan acts as a way for him to exaggerate his own eccentric thoughts and behavior in service of telling a good story. The way I see it, rather than being a direct parallel to Araki, Rohan is a completely unique portrayal of an artist that could have only ever been created by Araki. And that's part of why Rohan has come to be one of my favorite JoJo characters. Rohan is portrayed as a genius in his craft, and I think he's a very complex character that shows both the good and bad that comes from that. Rohan simultaneously acts like a surrogate for Araki's point of view, as well as a sort of model for the kind of person we all aspire to be. Rohan's character shows off how all people are flawed in different ways,
True.
and that it's because of
True.
those flaws and not in spite of them that they're able to create works of art. Hopefully this video helped you to come to understand and appreciate Rohan more as a character.
Oh yeah, it's
He's
cool.
always been one of my favorites, and I found it fun to do a deep dive and discuss some of the themes and ideas behind him. I've noticed that a lot of JoJo fans aren't completely familiar with the Rohan spin-off content, so I just want to end off the video by wholeheartedly recommending them.
Yeah, I'm actually very tempted. They've got that. I think it's the first two. There's 2 volumes. I think there's 2 volumes in the Waterstones by mine. Might go check it out. They still haven't got Steel Ball. I pre-ordered Steel Ball Run Volume 1 on Amazon, and then I was sitting around, and then they went, "Oh, we're actually gonna let you know." And we said, I got it like 2 weeks later than they said, but still arrived. So I'm just gonna keep pre-ordering on Amazon and have them as they arrive.
I believe all chapters.
So then I might buy these as well. And I've got the spin-off with Josuke from Part 4 teaming up with Whole Horse from Part 3. Got all 3 volumes there. Haven't read them yet. I'm actually looking at my mangas now. I've got like the first 3 volumes of Kagurabachi. I've read volume 1. I've got volume 17 and 18 of Chainsaw Man. Haven't read that. Volume 42 of Berserk. I got that when it came out. Haven't read it. Kaiju number 8, volume 12 and 13. Haven't read it. Kaiju number 8, the side story, part 1. Haven't read it. I got Look Back and Goodbye Eri. Haven't read them. Psalm 100, volume 16, 17. Haven't read them. Like, I've been so busy moving into this house and trying to get back into the routine of the YouTube and up. Anyway,
Of the Rohan manga are great individual stories that any JoJo fan should read, with ones like The Run or Hot Summer Martha being some of my favorite Araki works. Araki's collaboration with the Louvre starring Rohan is fittingly one of his most beautifully drawn stories, and I actually recommend seeking it out to read physically if you are in any way a fan of Araki's art. The OVA adaptation is also quite good, especially
great.
the episodes for The Run and Attic Confessional.
The Run's so
Most
good.
of all, though, I really recommend checking out the Rohan TV drama. It's one of my favorite things to come out of JoJo in the past few years, and the casting of Issei Takahashi as Rohan is downright perfect. One of my favorite things about the show is how they've elevated Rohan's editor Izumi into a lead character who appears in every episode.
that's cool.
This decision even seemed to influence Araki, with Izumi coming back in the more recent Rohan chapters. The chemistry of these two in the show is just amazing, and anytime the two are together, it carries the episode. And I guess that chemistry was actually pretty strong since those two actually ended up getting married in real life.
Oh,
Like I
wow.
mentioned, the drama has 4 seasons, adapting a total of 9 stories, both from the spin off and reinterpretations of stories from Part 4 itself, like the fights with Cheap Trick and the Rock Paper Scissors Kid. I absolutely recommend watching the series as well as the movie, and you can find them all on Prime Video.
Oh, sick.
Outside of that recommendation, I also
Ooh, I'm gonna have to see if that is the case on the UK.
want to hear how you feel about Rohan as a character and what more you might have learned about him after this video. If you want to keep updated on new videos, make sure to subscribe and click the bell.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Interesting stuff. It's been a while since I checked out some Ham B. It's been a while since I checked out some JoJo stuff, you know what I mean? So I just thought we'd throw one in there. Let you guys know I've got my Volume 1 Steel Ball Run. It looks so beautiful. Look how pretty it is. It's so nice. So I'm gonna just, yeah, as they come out. Get the... I love the hardback. I said I don't see the point. I might buy the JoJo's before that, but I think it's a nice little. I think it's kind of like a metaphor. All that JoJo stuff and everything like that was part of everything beforehand, and now I'm in this new house and it's new beginnings and all that. Steel Ball Run's a new beginning. It's quite nice when I think about that actually. Beautiful. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.